Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And for those in South Africa and other areas, good evening. Listen, this is the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. I'm your host, Melvin Casey Lars, and we are extremely excited to have with us none other than Mr. Charlie Masala. Now, guys, listen, you are in for a treat because you know why you're in for a treat? Because once you hear how great this gentleman is and all the things that he does, then I know you guys want to have him not only on your shows, but in your cities as well. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Charlie Masala. Now, he was born in the rural village of Manamani-Venda in Limpopo in South Africa. Charlie Masala met Dr. Myles Munroe at a young age. Now, under Dr. Munroe's personal mentorship of over 25 years, Charlie would become a renowned international conference speaker and management consultant. As a kingdom teacher and speaker, Charlie has spoken on many global platforms and has traveled over 35 countries around the globe, fulfilling his life's purpose. 35 countries, guys. Most of us live in towns and we've never gone to 35 cities. So this is truly an international gentleman that we are speaking with today. Now, Charlie practiced in the human resource management field for over 10 years in different capacities in the corporate South Africa. Charlie founded a management consulting company, Zoe Business Consulting, in 2004. Now, Charlie currently serves as regional ambassador and board member of the International Third World Leaders Association. Charlie is the CEO of Myles Munroe International Africa, as well as a board member of the Myles and Ruth Munroe Foundation. And as we continue to talk about Charlie, allow us to stop this moment and pay homage and condolences to Dr. Myles and Mama Ruth Munroe, also to Sharissa and Charo. I'm sure all of us are cognizant and remember the sad passing of this family, of the two, of course, the children, Miss Sharissa and Charo are obviously still with us, but we do want to pay our utmost respect and condolences to the Munroe family, to the Munroe friends, to the international setting, and also to our guest, Mr. Charlie Masala. Now, guys, let's talk a little bit more about Brother Masala because he's an interesting guy. Charlie also served for more than a decade as head of the Macedonia International Bible Fellowship, appointed by Bishop Kenneth C. Omer. Now, he also serves as board member of Texas Women Empowerment Foundation. As a management consultant, conference speaker, trainer, and facilitator, Charlie shares insights that add substantial value to any organization, subjects such as diversity management, leadership in transforming societies and organizations, teamwork building, building organizational brands, mentorship, employment equity, discovering your purpose. And we're going to talk a lot about discovering your purpose this evening, guys. Labor relations, entrepreneurship, youth development, and leading change. He holds a national diploma in human resources from Tshwane University of Technology. Now, labor relations management specialist also is certified there from IPM, leading change program, University of Michigan Business School, and management development program at the University of Pretoria. Now, Charlie Masala's dynamic presentations continue to earn him accolades from organizations such as CESO, Barlow World, Development Bank of Southern Africa, South African Bureau of Standards, the ABSA, Tshwane University of Technology, HP, Hewlett-Packard, and many government departments and municipalities in South Africa. He is the husband of one wife, Zoli, and father of three girls, Zoe, Akona, and Andisa. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Charlie Masala. Mr. Masala, how are you this evening, sir?
Honored to be on your program, Brother Mel, and I am excited to be, hosted by you this evening. And I would like to apologize, first of all, for the miscommunication last night. I should have been on this show, and I missed it. So my apologies. I hope it's accepted.
No, listen. The street term for children say "my bad." It was my bad. I appreciate the diligence of Mr. Masala, but I cannot let him accept that blame. We should have done a better job of recommunicating that as host. So, Mr. Masala, I appreciate your integrity, but we must clear that up. And as host, then we should have done a better job making sure that everything was set. So, accept our apology, Mr. Masala. And it's just great to have you here. And we know that you always are very diligent in what you do, and you work very hard at what you do. Now, as we get started, Mr. Masala, most people are familiar with purpose, and we know Dr. Munroe used to talk about know your purpose, but we want to hear Dr. I don't want to call you Dr. Masala. When you are talking about purpose and when you're training and working with individuals about purpose, what primarily are you sharing and trying to get individuals to accept and to understand?
Well, thank you very much. Let me first of all give you a little bit of me, which is not in writing. I come from a village. I was born in a village. My mother tells me I was born on a Sunday in 1971. It was the 15th of August, and she tells me that I was not even born in hospital. I was born at home. So I'm a homemade. So I have my life lived in the village throughout my life, and as a young person, and as a child and a teenager, and we lived in huts. My mother used to make fire in the middle of the hut, and on one side of the hut she put her pots, and on the other side is where we kept our goats and chickens, and the other side of the same hut was where we slept. We used that as our bedroom. So we used to share. I used to share at some stage accommodation with goats, believe me, and chickens. So that's my history. When you look up, you were bound to see a dark, roof darkened with smoke, because we lived in the same hut, which was also a kitchen hut, and also where we slept. And when I grew up, I discovered, my Lord and Savior in 1985, when I was about 15. So as a teenager, I accepted Christ, and my life would then change. But my life changed even for the better. In 1990, when I came across a VHS video recording while I was in the village. I used to visit a man who had a VCR because they were very scarce. I think you could actually have one man who has a TV in the whole village. So I saw that VHS. It was a session that he did on vision and purpose while he was visiting the US. He was speaking at a conference. It was a Carlton Pearson conference back there during Azusa days. And I was so challenged by that message, and I was encouraged though, because when I looked at him, I realized that he was, he was like me. He was black like me, and raised in South Africa. We were raised under apartheid, as you may know. We were raised under a regime where it was legal for people who didn't look like me to oppress us. So we were very oppressed by the white people in this country, and it was not a secret. It was not like something that they do, in a sneaky way or whatever. It was law. And it was law which was also encouraged by the theology of a church called the Dutch Reformed Church, because it was the Dutch Reformed Church who gave the government of the time a theology. As you know, every idea requires a theology to justify it. So the idea of apartheid was justified by a theology which was given by the Dutch Reformed Church. So they say to the government of the time that it was the will of God that black people must be subservient, and that they must, they are half humans. They are not full humans. Full humans are whites. That is what was believed, and it was backed by the church. And the white people oppressed us. I mean, as you may know, even during back in those days, even in the US, we used to have also here, whites only toilets, black only, whites only movies, black only movies, and also, a lot of things that we were not allowed to do, like you could not marry a white person. It was actually outlawed for white and a black to get married, or even to be in love. So it was legislated that way. So that was my background. So growing in that background and meeting with Dr. Myles, who gave me so much hope, because I then realized that, I can do this as a black. It's another black who is successful, and it's listened to by the whites, and I felt that this man, I must pursue him, and one day we will be family with this man. And I pursued him until it happened. But that happened finally in 1993. I then got to hear while I was in college. I was a student leader. I moved in the city here in Pretoria. So as a student leader, I heard that my mentor was coming to town. He was visiting a white church. And I went to a pastor who I knew of that church, Pastor Ed Roybert. It was the Hatfield Church, and I talked to him. He was white. I talked to him and asked him that I think Dr. Myles Munroe would be very beneficial to us as blacks. So I asked if he could come to a black college, and that I will get all the 6,000 students to come and listen to him. And Pastor Ed was very gracious. He allowed me that opportunity, and Dr. Myles came. It was in October, of 1995 when he finally came. I had met him in 1993 at the Hatfield Church, the same church of that pastor. But 1995, I then got an honor of hosting Dr. Myles Munroe in our college. So when he came there, he spoke. He did 2 sessions on that Saturday. The hall was packed. 6,000 of us were filling the hall, and people came from everywhere. The hall was, the 6,000-seater hall was overflowing. And I remember I was a host of that meeting. And when we finished the meeting, which was very challenging and very motivating, I asked him if he could mentor me, and he agreed. And he gave me his home number, office numbers. And, during those times, of course, we didn't have cell phones. So I had to write him a letter, by pen, and then post it. And sometimes I met him before the letter could arrive in the Bahamas. We would have met somewhere. That's how it was during those days. And our relationship would then be very tight and very strong. And I started getting involved. He invited me to the Bahamas. I went to the Bahamas for the first time in 1997. And I've been going there every year since, sometimes 2 times, 3 times a year, because he then invited me into the ITWALA, the International Third World Leaders Association, which is an organization and the association of leaders, which I then started attending every year. I became a trustee of the organization, and then I became also a senior vice president of the organization. And we worked together so well. And he appointed me to lead the Myles Munroe International in South Africa, and which I did with with all the honor that I felt that it deserved. And I devoted my time. I remember at the time I was running my own company that I started in 2004, Zoe Business Consulting, which was consulting in human resources management and so forth. I put aside that company to be able to serve him. So by the time he passed, it had been 7 years of me devoting my time towards his organization and towards his work for Africa. Actually, that is what made me to abandon my business, because I felt that he needed to cover much more countries. And we traveled a lot of countries in Africa. We were able to, South Africa, we did all the cities in South Africa. We went to Swaziland and met the king there and get to minister to the nation and the politicians there. We did the same in Zambia. We did the same in Zimbabwe. We did the same in Malawi. We did the same in Tanzania, Kenya, Burundi, Uganda, Namibia, you name it. We travel all those countries. And I was responsible for setting up those meetings. So I'll go 6 months before the time of the sessions. I'll go and meet with the leaders and facilitate the relationships there. And that way, Myles Munroe International became very, well known, and not just in the church, because we only did church at night. We were doing government, we were doing politics, we were doing also leaders and business, owners and so on. So we were out there. We were really out there, and I think during that time we were able to cover so much. We were able to cover so much in so many countries. And as it stands now, that's why so far I've traveled the 6 continents of the world. There's supposed to be 7. The other one is not too active, but all the active ones, I really traveled all of them. And I have now traveled 40, just a little over 41 countries. So that's what I've been doing with him. And he would come here, spend the whole month with me. Actually, the time when they passed, they had just left South Africa. They were like 7 days away. They were just 1 week gone from here. And then the incident and the accident then took place, which was so sad, because November 9th was very sad for me, because these are people that I worked with for many years and who I loved, and who, a day would not go and pass without me talking to them, either texting or calling, or, we always were working together. And I think I'm one of those who served with him and served him for the longest of time. I've known today, to this year is 27 years that I've been associated with the ministry. So when they passed, I had already worked with him for over 2 decades. And I felt really honored that I allowed, the voice of God to speak to me, to work with him full time. It was perhaps not the most, lucrative decisions financially, but I look back to that situation now, and I know that I've done the right thing, because we were able to meet the needs of so many people, and we were able to impact the nations of the world in a true sense, because I started also taking responsibility of organizing meetings in Asia, and we were doing the Middle East in Israel. We did tours there. Sometimes we went twice to Israel, and so forth. And Dr. Munroe was able to meet a lot of presidents in my own continent through that devotional, sacrifice. So I'm a satisfied man that I was able to play my part in this, what I would call a divine call of Dr. Munroe. And I feel very much, very much a part of that whole calling that Dr. Munroe had received from God. Actually, he used to say that he think that when God created me, he had him in mind. So that made me feel, relevant and feel needed and wanted in the process. So I worked with them very closely, and so my calling, to answer that short question, which gave such a long answer.
You're fine. You're fine. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So I would say that my purpose really, which I discovered, besides that calling that God has given me to work and support the work of Dr. Munroe, my calling really is I exist to help others find themselves and become the best they can be in the area of their gifting. And that is what now I go around the world doing. During the time when he was still alive and we were working together, I refused to do any other thing or to have any other, any other commitments that will hinder me from working with him. So and also there are places that we went to, and just carry the camera, carry his bags, and take pictures. Most of the pictures that you would see with him with kings and so on, I've taken, I think, majority of the pictures because I was always on the background as we began to also travel other parts of the world together. And I never really, at the time, I never forced myself to be wanting to take pictures, and so to be in part of those pictures. I was always behind those pictures. So and I'm satisfied that I've served the man the way God would have expected me to serve him and his wife. And I indeed say to him that when he's not here, I would continue to serve his wife and his children. Of course, I didn't know that he would then depart with his wife. But yeah, I have been really honored. I take myself to really have been honored. And I think that is why, because I worked with him so well and long, people noticed me around the world. And when he departed, they started calling on me to come and speak. And I remember my first invitation outside of our clique, outside of our group, was to the country called Indonesia, Jakarta. I went to Jakarta, and it was through an invitation from Madam Indri, who was to host Dr. Myles. And in 2015, he departed 2014 November. So he was scheduled to, by me, because I was organizing there. He was scheduled to go and do a conference in August 2015. So he obviously was not going to be able to do that anymore. So I accepted that all his appointments, which were still to happen, it won't happen anymore. And I accepted that. And I've accepted that there was really nothing to follow up on with the Jakarta, Indonesia invitation. But to my surprise, come about December, late December that year, Miss Indri said, Apostle, she said, I know that Dr. Munroe is not here anymore, but I want you to still come. She said, I want you to come do a conference for me for a week, 7 days. I want you to speak. I know you, I don't know you as a speaker or anything, but I know you must have heard something, from Dr. Munroe as you were with him. So I want you to come and share that. Don't be any other person. Don't be anything. Don't be anybody. Don't be Dr. Munroe. Just come and tell us what you heard him say. This is now supposed to be 7 days long, with about 3 to 4 sessions every day. I went and of course, as they say, as Dr. Munroe used to say himself, that mangoes don't fall too far from a mango tree. I realize it, because when I ascended the stage, it was just, like, my chief is around. the anointing fell will fall into the place. The teaching anointing will, engulf me, and I will just find myself going and going. And all that, I never went dry all the 7 days, and with all the multiple sessions in the day and the fatigue, exactly how it used to happen when I was with Dr. Munroe. I felt that's how it was just going throughout the whole week. And it was a great beginning. And that would, and many doors also opened. I have been crisscrossing the US between 2015 until now Corona hit. I was supposed to be back in the US and South America this year. And I traveled to places where I couldn't go. And I remember Dr. Munroe would pray for me and say, and hold me and say, you're gonna be bigger than I am. And I'd never believed that, because I didn't think, that was possible. Seeing what the man have achieved and the number of books that he wrote and so forth. And but I just availed myself and do what I was requested to do. And each time I was traveling with him, he would repeat those things, and he would just call me up on stage and to greet the people and so forth. And he would just throw me out there. And through that process, I obviously got accustomed to the stage and accustomed to talking to people and and appearing on on stages. And of course, during that time when I was with him, I would arrange a lot of media conferences and stuff like that. And in that process, little did I know that I was being prepared for that, because when I go to these countries now, that is exactly what people do. They take me to different places. I meet, I meet with prime ministers and presidents, and I never really get to wonder what I am going to say in their presence, because I have been taught well enough. I have learned in the process, even though I never thought I was learning. I was not learning consciously, and I never thought I was learning to be able to use it one day. But that's what's happening, and I think it's just really maybe same story that Elisha and Elijah experienced with also Paul and Timothy. It sounds like, or it looks like, this principle never really gets to, it never fades. It always, it always works. So, and I'm saying this because I also never thought I would be writing books. And I have started. I have, the first one is out now. It's called, Black Son, White Mother. I'm sure you'll talk about it a little later, but this is the book. This book, it's a great book, and it's going, it's a surprise. It has surprised me.
Now let me.
I never thought.
Let me ask you this, Charlie. I don't want to interrupt, but I do want to interrupt, but I don't. Let me ask you this. As my audience, as a matter of fact, they got thumbs and hearts going up everywhere. As the audience is listening, and as I'm listening, if you will, you shared with us that you started out in your village, actually sharing your sleeping quarters with the goats and that kind of thing, and the smoke being at the top of the ceiling and being reared in apartheid. And here in America, it may not have been that extreme, but it wasn't far from it, even after slavery. So as a boy, as you relate this, and as you have come to where you are now, just before we talk about the book, because I definitely want you to get into the book, but just before we talk about the book, as a boy, when you were having to tend the goats, and when you were living in the village in the huts and that kind of thing, and being under apartheid, and everybody was talking about I always call him Mr. Mandela, by the way. Everyone was always talking about Mr. Mandela, etc. And I know that you were sharing that you were listening at the VHS, and that's what really, when you really started to hear Dr. Munroe. What were your thoughts, if you will, what were your thoughts prior to actually having the opportunity to hear Dr. Munroe? What was your mindset as far as being a young man, being reared in the village, and just going through everyday life under apartheid? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, well, when I was young, when I was very young, obviously I didn't understand what was going on. So I have absorbed and embraced and also embraced the idea that this is normal. Blacks are supposed to be subservient of the whites. They are inferior, quality. God created really the whites and then, did us a favor, created us so that we can then serve the white man. So that was my mindset, because that's what I saw. I saw people working in the plantations. I saw people, earning almost nothing. Sometimes, during my time, you could actually even be paid by, if you were working in the plantation, when you finish at the close of the day, they could give you oranges, or, they give you sugar canes, they will barter your services just like that. So I embraced it in my mind that this is normal. There was nothing, I didn't feel there was anything wrong about it. And the only white people that I was exposed to, though, was the doctors who came as missionary doctors in the missionary hospitals, and those are the people that we knew. We knew that white people are supposed to do well. They're supposed to be doctors. They're supposed to, they're supposed to be well. They're supposed to be well off financially. They're supposed to be well off. They should drive well. They should stay well. They should have everything going for them. And we accepted that we were cursed, and that curse was with us all the time. That as a young boy in the village, I accepted, until obviously when I grew up, I started to understand when I became a teenager, and then I was exposed now to the world, and I was exposed now to more and more which was happening in our surrounding, and I started getting exposure of people who were politically active. And of course, I started joining that. And then I became also active in the streets with the other young people. And the college I went to was a very active college. Then we'll start to demonstrate and start to fight against apartheid. And, as we do that, sometimes we'll end up, after marching, we'll go to the shops and loot and so on. So I ended up in prison for a weekend. I was still very young, and I stayed there for 3 days, and but we started fighting for our own liberation, and joined the struggle in the streets, and that was when I was more conscious of what was happening. Then I started to know that it was not right for the whites to oppress the blacks and so on. During that time, you got to remember that during that time, Nelson Mandela was outlawed. So you could not, talk about him or be found playing any political tapes or anything. Everything was outlawed. Actually, they described the ANC and the freedom fighters as terrorists. They were regarded to be terrorists at that time. And but my father was very smart, because my father was even though he was he was in the village, but the village mind really was not in him, because he got educated to a point where, he was born in 1927, and he died last year at 91. But he was educated, so he could
My
read.
condolences.
Yeah, he could read, he could write, but he was very involved in leadership, but he was not really politically involved. So I think that made me to catch up a little late, because even our parents would be told that those are terrorists, they wanna destroy the country. And that was the narrative which was given to us until we grew up to know that, by the way, we must fight for this freedom, because the oppressor is not going to volunteer our freedom.
Wow, that's powerful. And I had to ask you that, Brother Masala, because 2020, and I have to say this to you just as honestly as I can say it, people across the country have this idea in their heads that Black people in America have it so great. They have no clue. You still deal with the same craziness right now here in America, as far as being called a terrorist or unpatriotic and all of that, because you refuse to accept being bullied. So and many times people won't have conversations. So I wanted us to talk about this, as you have done on our show, because my show have a lot of young people and some that are old like me. But I really like people to process information about humanity, and that's what you are doing so greatly, my brother. So I just wanted to ask you that. Didn't want to make you uncomfortable, but because we do have so many young people listening and sending you thumbs up and hearts, is that I wanted them to hear from another perspective, because when they hear from people that they know, then it's something they expect you to say, and they never get to hear a different perspective. So anyway, enough of my babbling. As we talk about writing books, and as you share with us about writing books, I know you have a dynamic book on the horizon that you showed to us earlier called Black Sons, White Mothers. Will you introduce that book, please, and share with us whatever you feel comfortable sharing with us about Black Sons, White Mothers?
This book called Black Son and White Mother was, it's a book that I conceived in my spirit, and given my history of where I come from, when I left the village, and by the way, this book is on Amazon, so you can go and download it. It's very inexpensive on Amazon. You can choose whether you want to have it as a Kindle book, or you can have it as an actual book. It's already in the United States. And I was so humbled that the first client to buy this book in the United States was my dad, Bishop Kenneth C. Alma, out of Los Angeles, California. And he was the first client. I was chuffed. He likes the book. And of course, he is one of those who feel very, strong about and who is against oppression. And I know for a fact. So when I was growing up in this difficulty that I grew up in, I finished high school just a year and a half after we got our independence. So I joined the workforce in 1996. That was, let's call it 2 years. And when I joined the corporate setting at the time, the corporate environment was all white. The only people who were not white in those environments, in those professional environments, was actually the security guards, it was the gardeners, it was the cleaners, and also in the audit environment, and I mean the CSIR where I started, the blacks were just handy people, with people to just pass on the the screwdrivers, the spanners, you know, as they help the engineers and so on, because the CSIR is the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. So there was really no black, you know, professors and researchers during that time. So that's when I joined. So when I joined, I remember, you know, arriving, you know, leaving the CSIR, arriving at the Auditor General's office of my country. And I applied for a position which required 2 years experience. And I only had like 8 months, you know, it was just below 10 months experience. And, but I felt that I was in college. I already spent 5 years there instead of 3. So I felt I have experience and also this 8 months that I had. So I just applied. So when I applied, I was then shortlisted. When they shortlisted me, they made a mistake of inviting me into the interviews because I never really failed an interview in my life. I don't know what it means to be rejected for a job. So when I went there, I answered their questions. They liked me, but then they could not, you know, appoint me for that particular position because of the 2 years that was required, and there were other candidates who had that 2 years. So, but my attitude was always very positive. You know, I always wanted to take challenges, and I was, you know, Dr. Munroe had made me, I already met him at that time, he already made me very dangerous. So arriving there, they liked me, they could not, you know, even though they couldn't appoint me for that position, they agreed that they were gonna, and through a woman that I met there who was a white woman, her name was Gail Vermeulen. And also, you know, I happened to be taken from, you know, before I went to the Auditor General, when I left college, I was recruited by a white woman who came to my college. And unfortunately, she was then killed. You know, I learned a year ago that she was killed 10 years ago by a black guy in the farms. Okay, so, but she's the one who really came to discover me from the college. And then when I went when I left the CSIR where she worked, I went to the Auditor General. I then met this lady called Gail Vermeulen. She's the one who I then wrote a book with, because when I conceived this book, I felt that I needed to write this book with someone who didn't look like me, and who can help us, who can, you know, who can be part of this unity that we're trying to build, you know, from, you know, of people who are different. So arriving there, Gail was leading transformation because the new government required that affirmative action, which was derived from the Employment Equity Act, required that organizations should transform. So they appointed her as a transformation manager. And she felt at the interview that she must get me to work with her. I will help her with the project of transformation, of which she did. And I was then told that I was successful. So I went to work, to start my work there as a human resources practitioner. And Gail and I then started to do the real transformation work in the field. So she was one of those who, you know, when I arrived there, as I said, I was just one of those very few professionals in the organization. So they spoke a language which they assumed that I didn't understand, because it was a white language called Afrikaans. So what they did not know was that I did Afrikaans in the village. So I could hear what they say and so on. So sometimes they would be talking about me and I would just appear like I don't understand what they're saying, but I would be understanding everything. So they will sometimes talk, you know, not so good, you know, about me, mocking me and making a mockery and a laugh of me and so on. And this woman would, you know, call some of them to order. they've given me a nickname working with them. They called me in Afrikaans the Groen Mannetjie. That means the small little green man. They called me the little green man. So that's how they would talk about me. But I would get to know it because I could listen and get to know it. So, but I knew one thing, you know, when you have a positive attitude, you know, you are different, and you're a kingdom citizen, you operate totally different. So I knew one thing. The one thing I knew was that these people were sick and I was well. So that knowledge helped me, you know, understand and sort of console myself that these people are sick, I am well, I'm created in the image of God, and so are they. What they don't know is that their skin color doesn't cancel my existence because I'm black. You know, so one day we went out for a social with this team, with this white only team, and we were swimming. So I jumped into the pool, and my legs went up like this. So one of the white ladies screamed, and she said, "Oh, Charlie's, you know, Charlie's feet are pink." She was very surprised. She said, "Charlie's feet are pink," and they laughed. So when I came out of the water, they were laughing, and I'm asking Gail. I said, "Gail, what is the joke?" Then she tells me, you know, "Oh no, so and so said when you jumped in because they could see your feet. They didn't know that black people's feet are not black. They thought our feet underneath it's also black like our skin." So I just laughed it off, you know, and so I stayed in that environment and was growing. Gail and I started to go around and took the real job of transforming the organization. And we were running what we called the diversity workshops. So we would go into the provinces and to different offices in our country. Actually, we trained all the staff of the Auditor General. They were like 1,200 at the time. We did training sessions for all of them. And I was standing in front of them, and some of them didn't believe in blacks, but I was there standing and training them. So it was through these trainings where my desire and my understanding of diversity was, you know, my knowledge was really expounded, because it was not just now theory, but I was training people and talking to them and helping them transform. You know, we also do exercises. You know, I remember one of the exercises that we used to do. We would give them a sheet with different descriptions of people. We said the Zambian doctor, the ex-beauty queen, and you know, the gayness, and so on and so on. And we'll give them this exercise and say, okay, we're going to start a new life in a fresh discovered island. Who are you going to take with you, and who are you going to leave behind? Just choose only, you know, 20 out of this long list. And then they will, you know, they will choose and then give, and we say, give reasons why you would do that. And the answers that we were getting were unbelievable. But we were doing that to try and reveal to them their own prejudices and stereotypes and discrimination without them realizing. But their reasons will tell us that. And then we'll say, okay, this is called prejudice. This is called, the way you just answered this question, it is, you know, it's discrimination, because you don't have, there's a lot of information you don't have about these people. You know, so we trained them, you know, we're doing 2 days, it was 2 days training. So in this training, Gail and I then work, of course, we trained together, and we could interact in a way that, you know, the whites felt, you know, especially the white man felt very uncomfortable, because one of those things would be, me drinking out of a Coca-Cola can. I remember the other day I was drinking out of a Coca-Cola can, and Gail took that can and she drank it. And during break, the white men who were there called her to order, and said she can't do that. And she had to explain who she was and the fact that, it is okay to do that. So that is the environment that I find myself, existing in when I joined the corporate setting. So this book came about as a I was having a holiday. Actually, 2018. Charissa Monroe says, come to the US with the kids and come and spend Christmas with us. So we spent Christmas in Florida. And when I was we were there for Christmas and New Year. And when I was doing my New Year resolutions, I had already been visited by God to write a few books. And one of those books was diversity. So I listed all those books. There are 7 in number already. And then I text Gail because I thought, okay, I'm going to write a book on diversity. I think I might want to write it with Gail because I've trained with her, and we've trained so many people together. So let's do it together. It's also a diversity book anyway, which must keep all the diverse, people at ease and so on. So I then texted her and said, Gail, I would like to write a book on diversity, and I would like you to be my co-author. Of course, that's how it started. But the burden for me was I got disturbed to seeing the world, which is supposed to become a brand new world, becoming a very old world, which is not changing. Where there's a lot of pretense. And racial pretense, and and people say, I have people in my country who say, for example, things like, oh, well, I don't see race. I don't see race at all. I don't see color. They say, I don't see color. I'm not a racist. I don't see color. And you see, when a person speaks like that, when they say they don't see color, in my experience, after I've trained so many people, because remember, after training the Auditor General's office, I went around consulting and I ran so many diversity. I've trained thousands of people just on this subject, and one-on-one in the class to hear what they say, people of different backgrounds, Indians, coloreds, whites, and so on. So when I hear a white person say, I don't see color, then I'm concerned, because that's when I know that they see color. Because diversity, when we talk about diversity management or diversity acceptance, you cannot accept something that you cannot see.
Absolutely.
So you're supposed to say, I see color, I see Charlie's black, I am white, or I am, Indian, or I am whatever it is. I am whatever I am, Charlie is whoever he is, but even though he's black and I am Indian, I see him for who he is, and I accept him for who he is. It does not make me any smaller, or he's not any smaller because he's doing, he is, he's that and that. No, it doesn't make me any lesser, but it just say that God has created, like in the garden. Can you imagine if the garden was just full of tomatoes? You look around, it's all red. Yeah, but when you go to the garden, you find all kinds of things. Spinach, you find Chinese spinach, you find onions, you find, lettuce, you find green lettuce, you find, other colors of lettuce, and mint, and all these other different herbs. All those are different. Even when you go to the bush, all the animals you find in the bush and the trees, they are so beautiful. The zebra is not the same as the lion. The lion is not the same as the elephant. The elephant is not the same as the giraffe. You know, it's God's diversity. God created these things, and they're different. And they're different for a purpose. And what we don't understand is that when we cannot celebrate differences, we miss out. Because when you are all the same, you can't help each other. But when you meet, you have and you have a team which is diverse. A diverse team helps you to think differently. It helps you to think creatively. You know, so and that was God's intention, to make us different. Not so that we fight, but so that we can augment each other, so that we can, you know, we can complement each other, not compete. I mean, you can never compete a white color and a black color. I mean, you'd be crazy. You know, these are two distinctly different, you know, colors. But those colors, when they are all together, they make life exciting. You know, so this
Absolutely.
book, yeah, so this book was a result of my anger and my knowledge of what is happening in the communities. Because remember, I don't suspect what's happening in the communities. I trained thousands of people. I speak what I heard people say in my classes. So this is what brought this book. This book was brought out of a heart of saying, I don't want to dominate anybody as a black person, but also I don't want any other, you know, skin pigmentation to overqualify themselves to become the chief of any other, you know, tribe or color or ethnicity.
Powerful.
You know, so that's the same thing that Nelson Mandela said. He said, I have fought against black domination, and I fought against white domination. So the idea is not for us to, we're not saying we want to be taken care of, or Black lives matter because we're saying any other life doesn't matter. No, all the lives matter, but you know, we're not going to talk about a house which is not burning. The burning house right now is black. So that's where we're gonna send the fire extinguishers. That's where we're gonna send people to help those who are trapped in the house which is in fire. Not to say that the other houses are not important. Right. They are important, but the burning one is the one where we're gonna send help.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent. Excellent.
So all colors, you know, are made by God. God made. You know, and it's amazing that when God created man, he created man from the dust of the ground. He went to the ground to create man. And did you realize, Brother Marvin, that God never went back to the soil when he has to create all the other races?
Never thought about it.
He went only once, which actually means that every colors that you see in the world today are coming from one. Yes.
Yes.
So why do you think that you know? I mean, that actually make us, all of us, cousins, because we are members of the same family. But it's our prejudices and our stereotypes which keeps us where we are, which makes us wanna dominate each other, which brings, you know, all this malfunctioning activities in the communities today. You know, so this book is written to say, you know, and I call it Black Son and White Mother because, you know, it is a figure of speech, actually. Why? Because me as a black son, I had a mentor who was an elderly white woman who showed me the ropes. So which actually helped me also to realize that I can't keep a stereotype which says white people are racist, because it's not all of them who are. I have a number of them that are wonderful people, you know, including my neighbor, Miss Linda Taylor. She's a wonderful white woman who has no little DNA of racism in her. You know, I think of women, white women, great people and women like, you know, Els Nyman, for example, in Holland, who came, by the way, to stay with us in the heat of apartheid, and when it was very difficult, and when it was not fashionable to do so, she went from Holland as a physiotherapist and came to Venda, where I lived, which is a rural remote place. And she came and did church with us. She did crusades with us in the dusty streets and the dusty tents. That is what I call, you know, celebrating diversity. She came and ate what we ate. So I can't say all, you know, all this particular race is this and that. I can't say that until you prove it to me that you are that. I can't put a blanket statement, because when I do that, then I'm canceling all humanity. You see, so this book is written with the in mind. I realized that both the oppressed and the oppressor are oppressed.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The oppressed, we were oppressed. And the oppressor haven't given up. Even in my country, where government is run by, where it's a black government, the oppressor haven't given up. Why? Because even though we got that independence, a political independence, we haven't, you know, gotten the most important independence, and that is economic freedom. We got the political freedom, but we haven't gotten the other freedom. And for us to get this freedom, we're not gonna drive anybody to the sea. But those who know that the system have benefited them unfairly, they must acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's all we're asking for. Acknowledge it, be sensitive about it, treat everybody like a human, and that's all we're asking for. We're not asking for a lot.
Right.
You know, I was even thinking that, you know, if, and I wonder how life was going to be like if the white people were the ones who were oppressed and now they have the freedom.
Good question.
I don't think that, I think they would have driven us already, maybe. I don't know. But I just think that we black people are very tolerant. We have tolerated a lot. Mm-hmm. And I thank God that he gave us that patience, because we need it to be able to get our countries and our world to be functioning. You know?
Yes, we do.
But yeah, we used to sing a song when I was growing up. It was a political song. And that song says, Senze nina, 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 senze nina. Even though you are American and you speak English, you can hear that I'm repeating the same thing.
Yes.
So we were saying, what have we done? It's a song that we used to sing. Each time we met, we sang this song and we said, what have we done? What have we done to deserve this? And then the song continues to say, our only sin is our blackness.
Right.
Because we didn't do any other thing to deserve the treatment that we were getting.
Right.
So even though I'm supposed to be angry I've decided that anger is not going to help me to rebuild our countries and rebuild our communities. But knowledge is what is going to help us, because I discover that people do what they do, not because they want to do it, but also because they lack knowledge. So this book was written to bring knowledge to both the oppressed and the oppressors.
Yes. Wow.
Okay. So this book starts the genesis of. It starts with the chapter 1 talks about the genesis of diversity. Where did diversity start? We talk about that in this book. And we also talk about the fact that, you know, even though we're fooling ourselves, the reality is that if you believe that you are created in the image of God, why do you think that the other people are not created in God's image?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's self. So actually, it says to me that you don't love yourself. You hate yourself because you're hating the image of God, which is, you know, and the likeness of God, which is how you also were created.
Absolutely. Perfect.
So this book will help us love ourselves again as humanity. This book will take us back to appreciating the fact that when I work with people in a workplace or wherever we find ourselves, whether it's a church or whatever, wherever we find ourselves, we must know that that person is as qualified to be on earth like I am qualified. There's no one who is more qualified to be around than the other. All of us are qualified.
Absolutely. Well, listen, go ahead. I'm sorry, continue.
So this book, it's about freeing the mind of both the oppressed and the oppressors.
Wow, listen,
and,
perfect.
And
perfect.
both the oppressed and the oppressor need to read the book. And yes, we ensured that it was not too big. So there's no bibliographies here and other things. We said the things that we wanted to say, which is what we saw in the world. The world is yearning for a brand new world. As Dr. Munroe wrote a song about brand new world. That brand new world, which he wrote about way back in the 70s, it's the world which today we still believe in God for, a brand new world. And we hope that it's books like this also which will help us bring a brand new world in our communities and in our countries.
Fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have just been given a history lesson that you could not and cannot pay for. Listen, Brother Charlie Masala, it's been great having you. Can you please tell our audience how they might get that book, sir?
This book is available on Amazon. Luckily, you know, in the US, you guys are in the Amazon country. So when you order, you know, if you're ordering an ebook, which is a Kindle, you get it right away. If you order the hardcover, obviously they will ship it to you. But it's a great book. So far, we have had wonderful reviews on this book. It has been given a foreword by one of our top lawyers in the country, who actually was part of the organizing committee for our Soccer World Cup as a lawyer. He was the legal representation in that committee. He have also worked as our South African Football Association CEO. And also he worked also as CEO of Proudly South African. So it's one of our, we are proud of this citizen. He's one of the great people. And also for the HR people in the corporate world, this book also have been endorsed. The very first endorsement that you get in the book is from the chairman of the South African Board for People Practices. So this is the board that is over human resources practitioners around the country. And yeah, and we have some of the finest minds in this country, and the man who actually used to be the CEO of the National Youth Development Agency, you know, which is responsible for developing the youth. Because if we are to change also this narrative, we need to ensure that our young people are more and more educated correctly. You know, I used to think education is powerful, but now I don't just say education is powerful. I say correct education, because there are people who are corrected in error, and they put us where we are today.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So this is it's really an awesome book. Some of the banking executives have, you know, endorsed the book, and the CEO of Hitachi Africa also, you know, endorsed the book. The book was also endorsed by actually the first Black women CEO of PricewaterhouseCoopers. She endorsed the book.
Okay.
So, and of course, you also have other endorsers here. Martin Williams, Dr. Martin Williams out of Nebraska has endorsed the book also. Beverly Saunders, this is the Kesna Human Resources and Development for Kesna Group at the Atlantis in the Bahamas. She's over that Human Resources and Development. She also endorsed the book. And some few other professors here in this country. So, yeah, so get the book. And,
absolutely. And you know what, Brother Charles Masala? Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a kind of a book that universities need, schools need, and actually, as a matter of fact, someone from your country, from the United States, is talking to us about you know, possibilities of using this for one of their universities. So
wonderful.
It's a kind of a book that you can actually recommend, you know, maybe as an extra recommendation, or for leadership development, because you can't afford to continue to produce leaders who are biased and who are full of prejudice and stereotypes that we don't need. We need a new world, and therefore we need a new, you know, we need new leaders who are able to understand and value diversity.
Absolutely. So guys, listen, we want to ask Dr. Masala to hang on a little bit after we end this show. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been great. I mean, we've been seeing the thumbs going up and the hearts going up, and we want you guys to feel very comfortable. If you have any words, any questions, as usual, then you can send those to me at the nobodyaskedmeguyShow@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to get them to Brother Masala. But Brother Masala, if others would like to contact you, is there contact information that you would be comfortable with sharing? So if they have any questions about the book, or if they want to hire your services, is there any information you'd like to share with them at this time?
Yes, I realize, you know, I'm 49 years old, and I realize life is short to ignore humans. So I'm available to anybody who would like to contact me. You can contact me on my my mobile number, which is +27. 27 is the country code, and the number is 74-482-3838. And also you can email me, which is much easier, and give me opportunity to respond properly. My email is Charlie Masala, very simple, CHARLIE. Masala is as in spice, you know, MASALA. So it's Charlie Masala @icloud.com. And also I have a, my website is under construction, but I think it's accessible. It's charliemasala.com. Charliemasala.com. And also, this particular book has its own website. So all the information about the book and some of those endorsements I talked about, we made sure that they were available on the website. That website is called blacksunwhiteMother.com. blacksunwhiteMother.com.
Okay, Dr. Masala.
So this book.
No, I was just going to share with you that I would share with our audience one more time. If you'd like to contact Dr. Masala by phone, it'll be +27 744 823838. And Brother
Yes.
Charlie, is the email, is it case sensitive? Is it case sensitive, or there capital letters any place in there, or we can just type charliemasala@icloud.com?
The truth is, I haven't tested it, but I know that the small caps works.
Okay, guys.
I mean, the small letters work, not caps.
Okay,
I think
no caps.
Those small letters, it will be fine.
No caps, all small letters. It's charliemasala@icloud.com. And also the website is charliemasala.com. And the website for blacksunwhitemother.com for the book. So listen,
yes.
Charlie Masala, has been great, fabulous having you here, and we thank audience again. And guys, you know, we normally broadcast on Friday nights, and I'm so happy that you guys like our show enough to come back and watch us on Saturday noon. I feel really good about that. So we do want to thank you for coming and joining us. And please, guys, purchase this book. As you listen to what Charlie shared, you know how phenomenal it is and how important it is for you to have this book. So again, we want to thank you guys for being here, and we look forward to seeing you on next Friday. You know, this month has been dedicated for, Domestic Violence Month. And, next month we'll have 2 women entrepreneurs on, and they'll be discussing with us again about business and about being Black women in business and about the obstacles that they have to overcome. So come back next Friday, 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we will get you the hookup. So guys, listen, again, thank you so very much. We want to thank Charlie. Again, Charlie, do you have any parting words before we end this segment?
I look forward to being back on this show. The show is full of life.
Well, thank you.
It gets the best out of me. So I want to thank you for being such a kind host, Brother Mel. And I look forward to seeing some of you when I come to the United States, or when you come here. It's a beautiful country. You're welcome to come. I know that some of you think the United States is the world, but the world is out here. So make sure that you can come visit. I've been entertaining a lot of Americans over the years. I mean, Bishop Kenneth Alma comes here with his church members, and they've been coming for many years. I think for at least 27, 28 years he have been coming here. So don't be afraid. We don't have lions on the loose. I must come back and talk about some of these things sometimes.
Well, you know what? So, you have a standing invitation on the Nobody Asked Me Guys show, Brother Charlie Masala. And let me share with you, coming to South Africa is on my bucket list. I was in Accra roughly 6 years ago. My Accra name is Ni Anan Kwame. I went through a 3-day ritual, all day, all night, learning about the culture, et cetera, et cetera. I was given this name. So I'm very proud of that, and I wear it proudly. And my name is, and they explained to me about born on a Saturday and all of that kind of stuff. And then I got to see the rituals themselves, and it was just great. I mean, it was just fantastic. So I have made a mistake here. I have made a mistake, but if you guys can still hear me, I hit something. Okay, I hit something I wasn't supposed to hit. But anyway, it's time for our show. We are ending this show, but I would like Charlie to stay on just for a moment as we get back to opening up this view. So, Brother Charlie, it's been great, and we do appreciate your patience, and we appreciate all of the nice, kind things that you have said. And so we just thank you for being here with us, and thank you very much. So, guys, again, we thank you guys, and we are officially ending the Nobody Ask Me Guys show. I'm your host, Melvin Casey Lars, and as you guys know, I'm a writer as well, and we've just finished our last book called Just an Ordinary George, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, Your Denial is Your Conscience. And we encourage you guys to go to Barnes & Noble and pick that book up, or you can pick that book up by contacting this show. Our website is being refurbished at this time, and you won't be able to get to it. So again, you can get that book at Barnes & Noble, or you can get it from us at this show. Nobody Asked Me Guys show at gmail.com. So ladies and gentlemen, again, we thank Charlie Masala so much for being here with us, and we want all of you guys to have a great and blessed day.